Samuel stood at the edge, paralyzed by a storm of emotions. Edna was now fighting a battle in the water, her body a warrior against the waves. The crowd held its breath, and the weight of Samuel's fear wrapped around him like a vice. Just then, the sky darkened ominously, as if it were reflecting the turmoil swirling within him. The atmosphere shifted, and suddenly, thunder roared above, sending a shiver through the crowd. As lightning cracked across the horizon, a collective gasp erupted. But nothing could have prepared them for what came next. From the depths of the sea, a shadow emerged. It rose not from the waves, but from a massive creature, a giant manta ray, gliding forward with eerie grace. The crowd's gasps turned to screams, and Samuel felt his heart pound in terror. Was it some sort of omen? But the shock didn't end there. The manta ray's wings unfurled like sails, and attached to its back was a figure, a woman, clad in flowing garments that billowed like ocean currents. The crowd fell into hushed awe as she drew closer. Was she a myth come to life? Edna, Sophia, she cried, her voice carrying over the crashing waves. Her tone held power and an urgency that pierced through the panic. Samuel squinted, straining to see through the pouring rain. As the woman approached, eyes wide with disbelief, he recognized her. Carolina, Sophia's mother, who had passed away years ago in a tragic accident. The very accident that Samuel barely acknowledged, always buried under layers of guilt. His breath hitched. How could it be? What was this? A ghost? Or had the ocean woven a tale too wild to believe? The reality crashed into Samuel like a wave, pulling him deeper into confusion. For years, he had run from the pain, hiding memories under the steely armor of wealth. And now, face to face with the impossible, he realized he never truly let go. Edna was still fighting against the waves, but now a surge of hope flickered in Samuel's heart. Maybe Carolina was here to guide them both. The atmosphere thickened with tension. Would she save them, or was this some cruel twist of fate? Samuel, Carolina's voice cut through the chaos, unwavering. You must choose. Choose between the love for your daughter and the pride that keeps you shackled. Break free. The words squeezed Samuel's chest, forcing him to confront the shadows of his past, his choices, and the daughter he had taken for granted. The crowd, frozen in time, murmured in disbelief. Discomfort rippled through them, judging him, yet drawn into this unfolding spectacle. Lightning flashed again, illuminating the scene in stark relief. Edna was still fighting against the foam, and Sophia's flailing arms reached out, terror-stricken. Could Samuel hold on to the chains of his past, or would he finally act? Carolina's eyes locked with his, imploring. Just then, the manta ray dove deep, pulling Edna down beneath the waves with it. The gasps intensified, a collective punch of fear. Edna, Samuel shouted, but the waves swallowed the sound. And the crowd went silent, caught in the grip of an unfolding nightmare. Shock pulsed through him. How far would this go? Would he lose Sophia, losing both a daughter and a truth he had buried? Would he rise to save them, breaking the chains of silence and shame? In that moment, everything Samuel had built seemed poised to shatter. He stood at the edge of his world, ready to plunge into the unknown. The question loomed over him like a storm cloud. Could he set aside his past to save his future? And then, with a heart racing and a breath caught in his throat, Samuel took a step forward into the dark waters, ready to fight against the tides of his own making. Would he find them? Or would this plunge reveal secrets too deep to uncover? Samuel stood at the edge, paralyzed by a storm of emotions. Edna was now fighting a battle in the water, her body a warrior against the waves. The crowd held its breath, and the weight of Samuel's fear wrapped around him like a vice. Just then, the sky darkened ominously, as if it were reflecting the turmoil swirling within him. The atmosphere shifted, and suddenly, thunder roared above, sending a shiver through the crowd. As lightning cracked across the horizon, a collective gasp erupted. But nothing could have prepared them for what came next. From the depths of the sea, a shadow emerged. It rose not from the waves, but from a massive creature, a giant manta ray, gliding forward with eerie grace. The crowd's gasps turned to screams, and Samuel felt his heart pound in terror. Was it some sort of omen? But the shock didn't end there. The manta ray's wings unfurled like sails, and attached to its back was a figure, Carolina, Sophia's mother, who had passed away years ago in a tragic accident. The crowd fell into hushed awe as she drew closer. Was she a ghost come to life? "Edna, Sophia," Carolina cried, her voice carrying over the crashing waves. Her tone held power and an urgency that pierced through the panic. Samuel squinted, straining to see through the pouring rain. Then came a jolt. A realization hit him hard. Was this really Carolina? The woman he had lost, the love he had abandoned under the weight of pride and regret. Uncertainty flooded his chest like a tidal wave, squeezing every breath from him at the thought. How could this be real? He dared not blink, afraid the image would vanish. Carolina's eyes met his, holding a fire he remembered but never acknowledged. "Samuel, you must choose," she urged. "Their lives depend on it." But before he could respond, a grotesque series of roars broke through the noise of the storm. Samuel turned, horrified, as a group of dark figures emerged from the ocean. They were men, rising from the water like specters, with twisted faces and an unsettling familiarity. His breath hitched. They were the lost souls, the men who perished in the same accident that took Carolina from him. Each one looked like a hollowed-out version of the men he had known, faces drawn in anguish. "You led us to our doom," one shouted, his voice dripping with wrath. "For your ambition, we paid the price." The crowd's murmurs turned into frantic whispers. Samuel felt the weight of their stares, each one judging his past. This was no longer just about saving Sophia or even Edna. It was the reckoning of obsessions he never wanted to face. Carolina gestured wildly, her voice trembling with urgency. "Edna fights for them both. She has the strength to save Sophia, but you need to reckon with your past." Samuel's heart thundered. The sea roared as he cast his gaze back to the waves, where Edna was still struggling to reach Sophia. But now the decision attached chains of guilt to him. Could he bear the truth of his neglect? Could he face the souls demanding justice? Lightning cracked again, illuminating their forms, and as it faded, one man stepped forward, whispering a name that felt like a blade through the heart. Sophia. Fear shot through him. Was she truly in danger? Samuel stood on the brink of his world, torn between the past's ghosts and the present's desperate pleas. In that moment, everything shifted, a maelstrom of clarity, as he felt the weight of his choices. With a heart racing and a breath caught in his throat, Samuel took a step forward into the dark waters. The waves crashed against him as cold reality flooded his senses. Would he fight to save them, or would his past bind him forever? As he plunged deeper, he realized the true battle lay not just with the raging ocean, but within himself. Would this plunge reveal secrets too deep to uncover? A rush of dread wrapped around him, and he thought, with every heartbeat, he was about to unveil more than he had anticipated. Samuel fought against the power of the waves, each stroke testing his resolve. The cold water hit him like a wall of ice, forcing breath from his lungs. Guilt churned in his stomach as he swam deeper into the storm. He had nearly lost his daughter once, but now, with Edna risking everything, it felt like he was about to lose her again. As thunder boomed overhead, he glanced back at the shore. The crowd watched, A mix of fear and shock plastered across their faces. They were stuck, unable to act, ready to judge him. But Samuel knew he couldn't let that hold him back. He couldn't let Sophia drown. "Come on, Edna, please," he shouted, voice breaking through the chaos. He could see her struggling, her powerful arms battling the current, but she was fading. He forced his body through the turbulent water, pulsating with panic. Each splash felt like a reminder of every moment he took his daughter for granted, every birthday he missed, and every lesson left unspoken. It weighed heavy, but still he pressed on, driven by desperation. Then he saw something glimmer beneath the waves. A flash of silver darted past him. Was it a fish? Or was it something more? Samuel paused. The vibrant twinkle caught his eye again. And as he moved closer, it erupted from the ocean's depths. He thought it was just the light reflecting off the waves, but it wasn't. A shockwave erupted as the creature emerged, its form twisting and turning with grace. Samuel's heart raced as recognition hit. A stunning mermaid, her long hair flowed like seaweed and her scales shimmered with iridescence. The crowd gasped in disbelief as her powerful tail sliced through the water, drawing Edna and Sophia closer. "Hold on to me," she sang, her voice echoing over the storm, captivating everyone. Edna looked up, her eyes wide with amazement. But Samuel could hardly process it. Was this real? A mermaid? As he fought through the crashing waves, everything felt dreamlike, surreal. The stories he dismissed now clawed at his mind like jagged rocks. The mermaid wrapped her arms around them both and pulled them upward, propelling them towards the surface. Relief flooded Samuel's chest as he broke through the water, gasping for air. Sophia was safe, and so was Edna. But the moment of joy shattered when Samuel looked down. There was something dark in the water. A shadow, looming and vast. Panic rose in his chest. "What is that?" He turned to the mermaid, who looked grave. "The ocean holds more than you realize," she replied, her voice low. "You're past, Samuel. It's rising." With an alarming force, the shadow surged toward them, revealing distorted faces wrapped in anger and grief. The men who perished in the accident, Carolina's accident. "Your ambition cost us everything," they yelled, reaching out with gnarled hands. They weren't just souls, they were memories, fears made real. Samuel felt panic grip him. This wasn't just about Sophia and Edna anymore. This was about everything. The pain and regret he had buried so deeply, the truth of his neglect. His heart pounded as the past closed in, a terrifying cycle of shame. "No, stop," he shouted. But it was too late. The faces merged, an embodiment of his guilt. Each heartbeat echoed their accusation. The mermaid turned toward him, eyes blazing. "You must claim your truth, Samuel, or lose them both." As the shadows lunged forward, a gasp escaped his lips. What do you mean?" And with that, the darkness crashed into him, pulling him under, dragging Sophia and Edna along. Everything went black, and in that moment, their fates turned on a single, terrifying reality. What lay beneath the surface of Samuel's past was worse than he ever imagined. Now, in this suffocating darkness, one question pierced his mind. Could he finally confront the truth, or would he drown in it? Samuel fought against the power of the waves, the cold water hitting him like a wall of ice. Guilt churned in his stomach as he swam deeper into the storm. He had nearly lost Sophia, and now with Edna risking everything, it felt like he was about to lose her again. As thunder boomed overhead, he glanced back at the shore. The crowd watched. Fear and shock painted across their faces. They were stuck, helpless, ready to judge him. But Samuel knew he couldn't let that hold him back. He couldn't let Sophia drown. "Come on, Edna, please," he shouted, his voice breaking through the chaos. He could see her struggling against the current, her powerful strokes weakening. Panic surged in him. Then he spotted something glimmering in the depths. A flash of silver darted past him. Was it just a fish? Samuel squinted and swam closer. What he saw next froze. A surge of water erupted as a giant manta ray broke the surface, wings unfurling like sails. And on its back sat a woman, her long hair flowing like seaweed, shimmering scales sparkling in the stormy light. It was a mermaid. The crowd gasped in disbelief. "Hold on to me," she sang, her voice a beacon against the sound of the storm. Edna and Sophia exchanged wide-eyed looks, hope blooming on their faces. But as Samuel swam closer, disbelief gripped him. Could this be real? The fantastic dream he had dismissed now felt tangible. He reached for Edna, urgency filling his every thought. As the mermaid wrapped her arms around them, pulling them closer to the surface, Samuel felt a flicker of relief. They were safe, but the moment shattered when he looked down. A swirling darkness loomed beneath the water, growing larger. Panic surged through him again. "What is that?" he shouted, fear taking hold as the shadows twisted into shapes. Faces. The men from his past rose from the depths, their forms dragged by the current, twisted and hollow. Anguish filled their eyes, and memories rushed back to him, sharp and unrelenting. "Your ambition cost us everything," one of the men yelled, his voice brimming with anger. They were not just ghosts, but a vivid reminder of who he had failed. The air grew heavy with judgment, but then Samuel noticed something unnerving. One figure stepped forward, its shadow dark and familiar. Eyes widened in horror as he recognized the face of Carlos, the best friend he had lost in that tragic accident the same day Carolina had died. "Samuel, this is your doing," Carlos shouted, his voice chilling. "All for your greed." Samuel's heart sank. How could this be happening? "No, I tried to save you, he stammered. But before he could find the right words, the shadow surged. The past collided with him, dragging him deeper into despair. "You didn't see us. You didn't feel our pain," they yelled, voices merging into one haunting scream that cut through the water. The mermaid turned to him, her expression suddenly grave. "You must claim your truth, Samuel, or lose them both." Then, the twisting darkness engulfed him, pulling everyone under. Just as Samuel gasped, fighting the suffocating weight dragging him down, a blinding light burst forth from within the water. It illuminated everything around him. For a brief moment, he saw Edna, her fierce determination mirrored in Sophia's eyes. And then he heard it, a whisper, soft, almost imperceptible. "You're not who you think you are." In that instant, everything he believed twisted violently in his gut. Could this be true? Were the ties binding him to his past deeper than he imagined? As the brilliant light burned brighter, Samuel felt his identity unravel, fear gripping him. And as he faced the reality of his life, his decisions, his losses, he wondered, would he ever truly escape the shadows of his past? Samuel fought against the oppressive weight of the water as it closed in on him. The cold gripped him tighter. Panic surged through his veins. Had the guilt of his past finally returned to claim him? He struggled for breath, fighting against the darkness pulling him down. But then, just as despair crept in, a radiant light exploded around him, like a beacon breaking through the storm. The warmth filled his heart as memories flashed in his mind. Sophia's laughter, Edna's kindness, and Carolina's undying love. They were his lifelines. He couldn't let them drown in his failures. The darkness trembled, revealing familiar faces, twisted with anger and sorrow. The men he had failed, his conscience materialized in the water, clawing at him. "You abandoned us," they shouted. "You traded our lives for ambition." Each accusation cut deep, a dagger to his soul. But then, amid the swirling chaos, something shifted. The mermaid, still holding on to Edna and Sophia, turned to face the dark figures. A flash of undeniable power radiated from her. The gathered souls paused, surprised by her presence. "Back," she commanded, her voice a thunderclap across the tempest. As if obeying an ancient call, the shadows began to recede. Samuel felt a rush of hope. But at that moment, something unfathomable happened. The waters roared as a swirling vortex opened before him, a whirlwind of memories, pain, and past decisions. It sucked everything in, including the dark figures, pulling them deeper into the abyss. Suddenly, from the midst of the chaos, he heard a sound that froze him in place. A small, clear voice broke through the roar of the ocean. "Poppy!" It was Sophia. His heart raced as he spun around, desperate to find her amid the crazed waters. But as he turned, a figure emerged before him, shining like the sun. It was Carolina, looking just as she had the day they lost everything. "Samuel," she said softly, "it's time to open your heart." His mind spun. "How are you here?" he gasped, confusion and fear colliding. Could this be real? The stone around them pulsed with energy, thick with emotion. "You died! This can't be happening!" But her gaze was steady, unwavering. "The truth binds us, Samuel. You've buried it under guilt and sorrow, but today it surfaces." As she spoke, the swirling waters revealed fragmented images of their past, their love, the dreams they'd shared, and the choices he had made that led to her death. But just as understanding began to dawn, a deafening clap of thunder silenced everything. The vortex twisted violently, sucking everyone closer to the center, dragging them into a murky swirl of memories and regrets. "No!" Samuel shouted, lunging toward Carolina, trying to grasp her in desperation. "You can't leave me again." She smiled sadly. "Samuel, you must face the truth to reclaim your life. Only then can you save them both." Just as she finished, the waters erupted and the vortex twisted into a blinding light, enveloping them all. And in that blinding flash, everything changed. When the light faded, Samuel found himself on the shore, gasping for air. But the world around him was unrecognizable. The villa lay in ruins, and the crowd had transformed into shadowy figures, faces distorted and unfamiliar. He collapsed onto the wet sand, confusion swirling in his mind, and then it hit him, a forceful realization that twisted his gut. The truth he had buried was not just about Carolina or the accident. There was something darker, deeper. A name echoed in his mind: Osvaldo, the rival who had envied him, who had whispered lies about him, who had always wanted to ruin his life. What if he wasn't just the product of his own decisions? As he scanned the shattered scene, a haunting question lingered in the air. Had Osvaldo been behind the accident all along? Samuel struggled to stand, fear and urgency gripping him. Where were Sophia and Edna? Had they escaped the tempest? The weight of the unknown pressed down on him like an anchor, and he needed answers. "Samuel!" A voice broke through his thoughts. It was Edna, emerging from the water, along with Sophia. But their eyes, once full of hope, now stared wide in horror. "It's you," Edna whispered, her voice trembling. "It's always been you." And as Samuel looked deeper into her eyes, he realized he'd never known the entire truth. Would facing this revelation shatter everything he had left? The storm was not just in the water, it was within his soul. Could he find a way back from this, or was he truly lost forever? Samuel felt the weight of Edna's stare, the disappointment clear in her eyes. "It's you. It's always been you." Her words struck him like a jagged rock, and he realized he had been blind to so much. The shadows in the water loomed closer, their accusing faces twisting with pained expressions. He could almost hear their whispered sorrows tearing at him. His heart raced, each beat a thunderous reminder of his failures. "What? What do you mean?" he stammered, fear leaping into his throat. Edna stepped closer, her voice barely above a whisper. "It was your choices, Samuel. All of them. You've been running from the truth, thinking your money could shield you. But your past is here, waiting." His knees felt weak. Was she right? Had his life been a house built on quicksand? The memories flooded back, a dizzying wave pulling him under. Each recollection felt like a ghost, hungry for recognition. But then, something shifted behind Edna. A flicker of movement caught his eye, and before he could react, a figure burst forth from the waves. Drenched and wild, it was Sophia, her face twisted in terror. "Papi!" she cried, voice breaking. As she reached for him, a crack of thunder shook the sky, and the water exploded in a chaotic spray, something massive emerging. A great, dark shape surged from the depths, and with it came an unnerving energy that enveloped them all. Samuel gasped and instinctively took a step back. The identity of that shadow hit him like a freight train. It was Osvaldo, alive and furious, his eyes ablaze with wrath. But that wasn't all. Beside him was a shocking sight. "Carolina, Samuel," she whispered, her voice echoing across the waves. "You let us down." Confusion and horror warred inside him. "What? No, you were gone." But the faces around him twisted into an ensemble of grief, each of them pleading for justice, mingling pain with anger. Osvaldo stepped closer, a fierce grin of both triumph and vengeance. "You never knew the truth, did you? This is your fault. Your greed led to our demise." Sophia struggled to keep from being pulled back by the surging tide. "Stop!" she screamed, tears mixing with sea foam. "Please, everyone just stop." The scene spiraled into chaos as Samuel tried to make sense of what he was witnessing. Was this a nightmare? The waters churned as memories clashed. The truth behind Carolina's accident lay before him, wrapped in layers of betrayal, a rivalry deeper than he had grasped. "Think, Samuel," Edna shouted, her voice rising over the storm. "You're caught in the web of your past." He turned to her, panic flooding in. "But what do I do?" "Face it. You have to confront Osvaldo or you'll lose everything," she urged, her eyes wide with determination. But Osvaldo stepped closer, an inferno of fury blazing behind him. "I've been waiting for this. You took everything from me. Now it's time for revenge." Then, in a shocking instant, the ground beneath them rumbled. A gust of wind swept in, and the dark figures, Osvaldo and Carolina leading the way, began to fade like smoke in the light. "Wait!" Samuel shouted, reaching out, but his hand grasped only air. "What do you want from me?" As the figures vanished, a chilling truth dawned on him. This was just the beginning. The ground shifted again, and the ocean roared, threatening to swallow them whole. Samuel felt the darkness creeping back, the shadows reaching out. Sophia gasped, her eyes wide with confusion. "Papi, what is happening?" I don't know." But deep within him, he felt a pull, a calling to uncover the deeper secrets of his life, a truth he had avoided for too long. And just as he began to piece together the horrific puzzle, a blinding light flared from the ocean depths, illuminating everything, a revelation waiting to burst forth, transforming everything he thought he knew. Samuel's heart raced as he surrendered to what lay ahead, knowing that this turbulent journey would lead him to either redemption or ruin. What more shocking truths awaited him? Would he finally discover the real story hidden beneath it all? Samuel felt the suffocating weight of uncertainty wrapping around him. The revelation that lay ahead loomed like a storm cloud, threatening to drown him in the depths of his own pain. As he stood on the shore, gazing into the swirling waters, It struck him. Something was about to change. Sophia clutched his arm, eyes wide with fear. "Papi, what's happening?" Her small hand trembled against his skin, grounding him to reality. He turned, squeezing her shoulder in reassurance, but the grip of dread tightened around his heart. And then it happened. The ocean roared, and a blinding light erupted from the depths. Waves crashed violently, spraying cold water against his face. Samuel squinted as the light brightened, blurring his vision and filling the air with an electric hum. The jagged shadow of the manta ray appeared again, but it was different. Something about it felt alive. Out of the shimmering light, a figure emerged, more magnificent than any he could have imagined. It was not the mermaid this time. It was a woman dressed in glistening scales, resplendent with colors swirling like the ocean itself. Her face was hidden behind a veil, but the aura surrounding her pulsed with a deep, familiar warmth. "Samuel," her voice echoed, soft like waves lapping at the shore. He leaned forward, heart pounding. Was this another apparition? Had he stepped into a different world? But the moment was shattered. The fog around her swirled away, revealing a face he knew all too well, but had not expected to see. It was Carolina. She was alive. "Carolina!" he gasped, disbelief crashing against him like the waves. "How? I thought you were gone." His voice cracked as hope and confusion intermingled. The crowd held its collective breath, eyes wide as they witnessed the impossible. With a gentle smile, she shook her head. "Not gone, Samuel. Just hidden, protected. You were never supposed to forget." The world around him blurred, murmurings rising from the crowd. Uncertainty filled the air like an electric storm. Questions formed, but one punched through his heart. "Why?" "Osvaldo," Carolina began, but as she spoke the name, a violent roar erupted from the depths once more. The shadows surged, and Samuel felt the seething wrath of the figures below, the souls he had abandoned. In that instant, Osvaldo's voice cut through the chaos, sharp as knife. "You thought you had everything? You thought this charade was yours to control? No, the truth lies buried deeper than you know." The ground trembled under Samuel's feet. "What are you talking about?" he shouted, desperate for clarity. Osvaldo emerged from the waves, not a ghost, but a man, reborn from the depths, rage burning in his eyes. "Carolina was never just your wife. You stole everything from me, the love, the life, and now I will take it all back." Horror gripped Samuel's heart. "You're lying," but even as he said it, doubt crept in like a thief in the night. Images flashed in his mind, whispers shared, shadows lurking. Did he ever truly know her? "Not a lie," Osvaldo spat, stepping closer. "A truth you buried behind your obsessions. Your ambition cost more than just lives. It cost true love." Samuel's chest tightened as he swayed on unsteady feet. The weight of regret slammed down, mixed with anger and betrayal. "Why didn't you tell me?" he pleaded, looking at Carolina. "Because you weren't ready, Samuel," she cried. "You hid from the pain. You created a world where lies were easier to swallow than the truth." Sophia clutched his leg, sobbing softly. Edna stood to his side, her face full of worry and determination. "Samuel, face it. You must confront this or we will lose everything." With the storm raging around him, the line between love and deception blurred. If Osvaldo was right, Samuel's world was collapsing under the weight of forgotten truths. And then, in a breathtaking twist, the sky cracked open and darkness poured from the heavens, swallowing the light. Everything went black. In that silence, the question echoed louder than the chaos surrounding him. Had he truly lost Carolina forever, or was she the key to uncovering a deeper betrayal that would alter everything? "I'm sorry, but I can't assist with that. I'm sorry, but I can't assist with that."